Welcome to the 13th weekly annual, bi-weekly, every week, every day, Towery Awards. How's it going, you guys? My name is Juan Paul Flores Vasquez, and I'm here with my co-host, as always.
As usual, John Eric Castro, and we have a special guest, the writer, director.
The visionary.
Exactly.
Of the Tower Productions movie.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Poster Girl.
Oh, that's me. Hi. Michael Head. Hi, how's it going? Been here before. Been good to be back.
For sure.
Sorry.
And as usual, the white guys in the back, we got Eric, we got De La O, Carlos, and Austin.
I heard why. I didn't want to say
We got the white guy.
Yo.
What did I say?
It's like a...
No.
Yeah.
Or maybe you meant the right guys.
While we're at it.
I got the headphones on. I know you said the white guys.
My bad, guys.
Flex, man.
My bad, guys.
Excuse me.
I hate white people.
Dang.
Wow. Well, we hate you too.
Well, it was a good sponsorship while it lasted, right?
For I said that. My bad, guys.
And scene. Just like...
Damn it. Take two. My bad.
Okay.
I didn't even realize I said that.
You made it sound so bad. Like,
I like
have
white
to
people,
introduce
everybody.
myself like, hi, I'm Michael, and I'm white.
I'm sorry.
My bad.
No,
Keep it going.
Hey, but what's going on, you guys? As of the recording of this podcast, we are hours away from the Oscars, the 90th Oscars, the 90th.
Ooh.
Right?
I don't know.
I think
Somebody fact check that.
It's one of them. It's a really old number with
An old number.
Exactly.
the computer geeks. But yeah, we're here with Michael Head, who's been here before for the 92nd.
The 92nd.
So, Michael, how's it feel to be back here on the TowerCast podcast again, talking about another film from your catalog of strength?
One of my favorite.
Great.
Really?
Oh. Sorry, I'm kind of going on this Die Hard. Not Die Hard. What's the Die Hard's name?
Die Hard? Bruce Willis?
Bruce Willis. Fifth Element.
Frank Sinatra.
Yeah,
You think you're too cool? Is that what you're like a Bruce Willis? You
When
just
Chris Tucker's like,
Yeah. He's like, fine.
fine.
I'm glad you got the movie. I do a lot of movie runs. No, it's fun. It's good. Good to be back. That was a really fun shoot. There's things always I do different, but it's a fun shoot. Getting ready to talk about it, ask questions.
nice.
Well, first of all, how did you come up with Poster Girl, man? Was it?
Take us
Because
back.
I know it was for.
I did that for our sound guy. Well, actually, it's kind of an interesting story. I was thinking about this on the way over. We moved to my wife and I moved to El Paso about 2017, and I was trying to come up with something for something to shoot, and I had total writer's block, just absolutely total writer's block.
We've all been there.
I had reached out to a bunch of people in town trying to get collaboration to work with them. Tower were the first people that actually said, "Hey, you want to work with us?" So, cool. And I think it was sound design on Depth of Field, which I did that, and they're like, "Oh, this guy actually might know something." I think maybe they're just being nice.
No, yeah.
They needed a token white guy.
That's what he's talking about. Please edit
We can
that
edit that. We can edit that out if you want.
Please.
That's what's getting too cocky.
No, but it was the filming of you trashing a trailer.
Yeah.
There's still time.
The left.
Which I think you broke a wall. Is that right?
What?
You broke a wall
I went a little crazy.
accidentally.
Oh.
Yeah.
Method acting. Oh my god.
All I know is we
No,
were
but I
all
learned a lot
outside
from
going,
this guy
what the
from now
heck
on."
is going on in there?
Well, if you want to hear more about that episode, you can go to episode 11, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Episode 12. That's right.
Check it out.
Hashtag 12.
Stick 12.
But yeah, that's where you.
But I had total writer's block, and literally I was on. I'm like looking over here, trying to keep it good. Literally, I was in the middle of set. We were working on other stuff, and suddenly, this entire story just popped into my head, almost a complete
Right
story.
there,
in this,
in the set.
I remember telling Carlos, I was like, I know what I want to do now. And
Ooh, I didn't know that.
that turned into what became Poster Girl.
Really.
Nice.
And what decided for you to start doing it? Was it the class project that you needed to turn in, or?
No, it was just fun. I
for
just
fun?
wanted to do it. It was part of Tower 20, and they said, "Hey, you have a script?" And I didn't really have a script for
Yeah,
it.
you
What I
did
had
not.
was a shot list.
Yeah.
Partly because I've done this a couple of times where I challenge myself to do a minimal dialogue film because film is intrinsically a visual art,
Right.
and it's unique in that sense. And one of my favorite directors was Hitchcock. My favorite 20th century director was Alfred Hitchcock, and I am convinced that part of the reason why he is such a strong director was because he started making films in the silent era. So his first films were silent, and he learned visual storytelling. When he moved into sound, he still applied those same visual storytelling elements into his filmmaking.
That's very true.
And so was this like you're like, okay, I'm gonna just go full on like silent? Did you go into it knowing we were gonna make a silent film, basically?
I knew it was going to be minimal dialogue, mostly just acting and directing, mostly just acting and moving around.
Because not a lot of people really do that. Like,
not a whole lot, and this is not the first one I've done. I've done one very similar, not definitely a different story, but very similar with minimal dialogue. So it's not the first time I've done that, and it's a great challenge to challenge yourself to make a film without dialogue, without relying on dialogue.
Yeah.
Really?
Not that anybody in this room needs to worry about way too much dialogue sometimes. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Speak out loud sometimes, man. Don't think about it.
I wasn't talking about you, Carlos.
Oh, there you go.
He's not talking. He's not talking about you guys. Just talking about me. But no, honestly, when he pitched me the idea, that's what intrigued me. Was a silent film, modern silent film.
did it like scare you or just like? Ooh,
Oh, I mean, I
like-
wasn't directing it. I mean, what was I gonna do? No, but
It's silent.
I mean, like the Lao likes to make fun of like the fact that like in my film you always have to have either a couple or a breakup,
Yeah.
and that's what or both.
Or both.
And this what intrigued me about this was like, okay, it's a meet cute story. It's a silent film, and it's gonna be set in the heart of El Paso, downtown El Paso during Christmas time. And so all those elements, just like I think I even probably asked you like, let me direct it, and you were like, no, I got to direct this one. But it intrigued me so much, and I think at one point, I think you pitched me the idea, and we just did other stuff, like a few other films, and I was the one that was like, Michael, when are we gonna do the poster one? We got to do the poster one. You were like, oh yeah, that's true. Like yeah, let's get into it.
It took a while. 'Cause
Yeah.
That was like almost a year and a half between when I had the original idea and we actually shot it. And that's just the development time. And we weren't originally planning, or I didn't originally know about Winterfest at all. So I was learning
But you
when
still
to
wanted
do
the
it.
downtown vibe, or what were you thinking when you were writing?
Lights.
I was just thinking kind of a downtown area, and when I actually went to Winterfest and saw how they lit and everything, how the look was, that was when I was like, oh, this is the
Yeah.
perfect place to actually shoot something like this.
Because it's a very like, whimsical like kind of film. Yeah.
And in the end, I don't think I went into it with this goal, but in the end, it kind of became about a love of cinema itself. The ending shot, spoilers. We're gonna talk spoilers for the movie. The ending shot is, of course, the boy watching a movie.
Was that always the ending, or did you change it up a couple times?
When I first concepted it,
We're into Kubrick
concepted?
levels right here. We're into
Concepted?
Kubrick.
When I first had
Kubrick
the idea,
vibes.
that wasn't the original ending, but that it developed into that later on. So before we shot, but I think the original concept was boy meets girl downtown, and they just walk around, and I got to that ending later on.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't have that kind of fantasy element when I first had the idea. So it did develop a little bit after that.
What was how do you write a silent film then? Mostly because a lot of it you would have to picture it in your head first, right? I mean, just because it's a visual story.
I'm an extremely visual person. If I knew how to draw, I'd love it. But I draw stick figures.
So what was like the script for you? Was it the storyboards? Did you have storyboards, or was it
Shot list more.
It was a
than
shot
anything.
list. It was a shot list.
Yeah.
It was literally just a list of this happens, this happens, this happens, and I had the storyboard kind of in my head. And part of it developed while we were on set.
Yeah.
Because I would say we're going to start here, we're going to move this way, and I get a different angle of it. I'm trying to
and the
pick this
and
up.
the
And I love that about that.
cinematography- Yeah, it's it's a beautiful like movie, and yeah, like you mentioned before we were recording, like the lighting was, I guess, one of the stars of the film. I guess
It was the first project we shot on the Blackmagic 4K Pocket 4K.
Does that shoot good under low light?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, it's fantastic.
that's why it looks really beautiful and vibrant, right downtown.
And we did end up bringing some lights, and Austin actually carried around the 120D for us,
Really?
and we used it when we needed to.
like
fuck
outside, just lights outside. Like, how many lights did you guys like have out?
Just the one.
Just
Just the one? Oh,
It was just an additional
Oh, it was
source we
needed.
need. I think we only used it like 2 or 3 times. I think after that, when we got into the actual park area downtown, there was so much lighting around, we didn't need any extra.
Yeah, the
Really?
corner one was where we needed it. The corner where,
But where the poster was, where the actual
exactly
movie
there.
poster was, we used it there.
for sure.
there's a lot of obviously like downtown shots, and then I mean I assume you guys even got permission to remove one of the posters from. Whoa, what happened there?
That's effect.
Really?
That's a fact,
Oh, that was
yeah,
an effect?
Yeah,
Wow, really? Okay, that's
that's the
actually
only
really cool.
tripod shot we used to because It's easier to do effects.
Really?
on
Oh, I
sound.
thought
Yeah,
you guys
can-
asked like the Plaza Theater. Like,
No,
hey, can we
no,
swap
it's
out?
effect.
Oh,
That's a special effect.
Wow.
I don't. It was if I remember, it was like a Peter Pan Broadway poster or something. I don't remember. It doesn't
I had
matter
to-
because I put over it and I if I could go back and redo the effect, I would do it again just because I've learned more since then. But
Did you do it yourself?
That always happens.
yeah,
That always
oh, I know,
happens.
I know.
And what about the score? Had you thought that you wanted a good score, or was it more going to be more of a...
I knew the score was going to be extremely important. Our composer, he did a fantastic job. We gave him the piece. I gave him very little direction in terms of what he wanted, and he came back with this very French-sounding piece, which perfectly... Okay, I'm going to say this. You got to listen to the entire statement. Overall, that French sound is not my favorite, but for Poster Girl, it worked perfectly.
Yeah, a lot of people said it worked.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
amazing for that piece. And so when I first heard it, I think I first listened to it without actually watching it, and so I was a little skeptical. But when we actually dropped it on and listened to it while playing it, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect.
You didn't have to tweak it? You didn't tell him, like, can you make it a little... It was
No.
just perfect?
No, it was great. He watched the completed film. He scored like over a week, I think. He did it really fast,
Really?
and yeah, did it.
Eddie's the
knocked it out of
best.
the park.
What was the casting like? Because obviously you. Well,
Hey, who's
presenting it
available?
To the whoever was available. But how did you pitch it to them? Because you have to be like, okay, so you don't have any like many lines, but like, what was your
It's the moneymaker.
how were you going into it knowing that you would have to direct a face more so than someone's like dialect?
I'm trying. To
That's true. That's a challenge, man. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's a-
And especially
I mean,
with body language.
I
too.
told you guys that it was going to be very minimal dialogue, all about movement.
dude, when I got there, I was like, I'm putting all my hope on you. You tell me what to do. Came out perfect.
And it's
Yeah, this is the moneymaker, man. You just tell me how to move. I was kind of nervous till I got there because it was just a bunch of shot lists. But then you just told me, all right, what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to flirt with this girl right here. She's not gonna pay attention to
also
you.
the confidence. Though.
Yeah, I was like, I know how to do that. So
And
he
get
was just
shot
directing me.
So it's not
What?
you start flirting with the wrong girl.
she's not in the film. She's not. In the...
She's paying attention to me.
Dang.
No, the actors did a great job. A lot of it was sort of like
Valerie.
the blocking, walking through kind of it's more about getting into the emotion of the scene.
Yeah.
And that's getting that across
The emotion.
visually.
The children of the night. Come on.
It's like 12.
I know.
No, but
Valerio did
overall,
yeah.
overall it was about the movement. Now the big thing was tapping into the emotion of the scene and getting that across physically. And so it was a lot of discussing with especially Valerie had to do the kind of surprised look
Yeah.
a lot because she was supposed to be this kind of almost fish out of water character. And she pulled that off really well, that kind of amazed thing. So it was just talking through the emotion of the scene, what the characters were supposed to be feeling, and having that brought across visually. And both of the guys, you guys did a fantastic job.
That's what he
in
told me at the
doing
set, and I
that.
was like, okay, I'll try to pull that off.
And was he clear? Do you remember? Like, was he clear with like what he wanted? Like, was there ever a moment where you're like, because I don't know.
No,
like,
you just gave me a brief of
I'm not an
what
actor.
he wanted.
I'm
like-
not an actor, so like I would be like frightened, just like, am I doing it right? Like, is this what you want? Like,
Nah, he was just giving me like simple directions, and I guess as an actor, I wait till I do my part and then see if he says to do something different.
because you guys all look very comfortable. Like, it wasn't like what he was.
Dude, when you got Valerie,
uptight
she's a
and
great
stuff.
actress, man. She was just
Nice.
just feed off of her,
Nice.
dude. But yeah, very minimal direction, which
Can I say, like, I want to ask you this, Michael, because Michael is a very visual guy, like he says,
Exactly.
and his other film catalogs aren't necessarily going to be about romance or about meet cute type thing. And this, to me,
Because I
was
don't
more
like
of
them.
a. That's what?
But you did make Blood Poster Girl, I guess.
I know, I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
It was unique.
Again,
It was
like,
unique.
that- this was kind of different
That's
from his
true.
element. However,
That's true.
I feel the foundation which Michael was really able to stand on is that I want you, if you can you talk a little bit about how talk a little bit about your love for photography as a director of photography and your love for lighting,
because you
because
taught
I
me.
think that's the biggest thing you can see in this film.
His
Like
strengths.
that's the strength as a director. I think you could
I
see.
think you've taught us all a thing or two about lighting, man. No, for sure.
On a side note, so I was gonna ask, so with something that's so visual, also, can you mention a little bit about location scouting and if you did any like test shots and all that kind of stuff? Because I feel like every shot came across really well, but I mean, it was a lot that was out of your control, like the natural lighting and all that's there. So how did you go
The
about
people.
that too?
What was the question again?
That's a full
I got
question.
distracted. Well, it kind of started with Carlos asking lighting and DP stuff. I I'm an extremely visual person. That's my passion. That's what I think I'm pretty good at, is setting up lights and getting a particular feel out of a particular style of lighting. The thing about shooting uncontrolled downtown, you asked about location scouting. I had gone to Winterfest with my family like a couple of days before. Well, it wasn't even a couple of days before. It was like the first or second day it opened, which that's a crazy time to go to Winterfest.
Plaza Park, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We went with my family earlier than that. And so I was looking around, and that's where I got a lot of the idea of what the lighting was going to look like. And I'm very much, I love practical lights. I love lights in shots, setting up, what's the word? You have a light and then you enhance it. What's the word? I'm a DP and I can't think of the terminology right now.
Carlos, you're slipping.
Brighter lights.
Practical light.
Oh.
You can edit this part. Feel free to edit this part. Or leave it in, because stuff happens.
It happens, yeah.
It's enhancing the light that's already there. Mm-hmm. But Winterfest, the way it's lit and the way downtown is lit at the time, it's actually super bright, and you have all these practicals that end up in the shots. Like the one that I'm thinking of is when you kind of come around the corner and you see her for the first time, back behind you have all those street lamps. And there's a lot of depth to the shot. You're seeing kind of the environment you're in, and that's the kind of shot that I like, where it's deep and there's lighting both in the foreground and the background.
Sounds like a light playground for you then.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. It was fantastic. The hardest part was when we did the behind the tent.
Yeah, because there was no lighting there.
There was no lighting. We used a little bit of the light to enhance it a little bit, and I kind of wish I could go back and shoot it with a little more light, just nice soft, make it a little brighter. But visually, it's all about just picking the look that matches what you want. When you think about film versus something like a painting, film is an incredibly new art form. It's only about 100 years old, 120 years old.
Yeah.
True.
And painting is, you have a point in time. Now, film is very heavily influenced by painting. There's even type of lighting called Rembrandt lighting, where you have a little shadow or a little light on somebody's cheek, and I love that look. Go back and look at Rembrandt. Google Rembrandt images, and you'll see the amount of films that have been influenced by that. But film is one time, and you're looking at it in one time. Or painting is, you have an image and it's stuck there. Even photography is, you have an image and it's kind of stuck there. It's one time. Film is images over time. It's changing images across time. And this is Carlos has made a joke in one of the scripts he wrote about the Kuleshov effect. It is the Kuleshov effect. It's how the images interrelate, how we go from looking at one thing to looking at another, and how those images play together. Which is very important, and it's part of how our psychology has been trained to watch films. As we look at films, we look at frames not individually, but in relation to everything else. I'm kind of waxing poetic here, and I think I'm kind of losing my point.
No, it's it's good stuff.
No, what I was gonna say is just the Kuleshov effect. What Michael was saying, it really interconnects to, especially short films. You have a short amount of time to tell this story in a select amount of images, right? And it's everything with Poster Girl because there's no dialogue. I think it's probably the most important thing.
I had a question for you. Yeah, my bad.
Well, I wanted to point one more thing. One of my intentional choices in Poster Girl was to get a wide variety of angles on you guys. I know a lot of times, and especially in my own films, my own short films that I've done before this, a lot of times it's very, very basic triangle coverage, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with triangle coverage. It's basic, it's essential, but everything is just a close up.
Are you implying you broke some rules?
Not broke rules. I tried more things. Like I tried a super wide shot from across the street. I tried a panning up shot when you're just walking, and it's a full body shot. I tried taking a variety of different angles. That's true. And I really enjoyed the way that looked, because an exercise I do with, I'm a teacher, I teach film production. An exercise I do with my students is I have them compare two scenes from movies. If you've seen the coin toss scene from No Country for Old Men, No Country for Old Men.
Oh, yeah.
The coin toss scene.
You broke that down for us, I remember.
That's a fantastic example of triangle coverage. There's basically 5 different shots. In the entire scene, it's covered with 5 different shots. I compare that to the interrogation scene from The Dark Knight, where it's Joker and Batman and thing. And I believe, if I remember right, it's like 27 different shots, 27 different camera setups. So when I say a setup is where you set your light, set your camera. That's your setup.
Right.
So in the Coen Brothers, in that scene, they have basically 5. I think it's actually 6 different setups. So it's very, very basic coverage for a really good film. Excuse me. In The Dark Knight, in The Joker, they move the camera 17 times, including one angle that is literally used one time for a shot that is less than a second long. But they did an entire setup for that one less than a second clip.
But intention is everything.
Oh yeah, and I intentionally
Intention is everything.
was diverse in how I shot, doing wide shots, getting close ups.
my notes.
All right, well, I have a question. I come from like the
42.
filmmakers or whatever. I'm not using any lighting. You're the one that really taught me like, yo, lighting is a necessity. Is there any one
Use lighting.
particular film or something that made you? What got you into lighting? Like, because you're a big nerd for that shit.
I can't really say there's one particular thing. There's films that the lighting stands out. Hugo, I think, stands out as an amazing example of film lighting, and it's lighting that I really like. Strong backlights, very soft front lights.
Like to recommend it for somebody that wants to know more.
And one thing that made me start to look closer at lighting, I'm gonna hopefully, I wreck the way everybody watches television and movies right now. That's my goal in my production classes. Is I wreck the way you watch television. Watch a movie. Watch a scene. See how the lighting changes between the different angles, because it always changes.
In
Like,
TV, it doesn't.
pay attention to where, like when you're over somebody, like they have a camera. You have a camera over here, and it's over somebody's shoulder. Pay attention to where the light is hitting them, and think about what that would look like if you actually moved the camera to the other side. So when you're going from one side to the other, the lighting is entirely different.
Right.
There's no consistency in the lighting because it's not about. And I've had this discussion with the directors before in Dallas, particularly. I had several directors that they were very concerned about the lighting's not going to be consistent, and I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
That's interesting.
because there's a movie Warhorse. If you've seen
Ooh,
Warhorse,
I love
the lighting,
Warhorse. Yeah.
but the
That's a good
lighting
movie.
the lighting is very unnatural in Warhorse. There's very little motivated. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Was motivated lighting. There's very little motivated lighting in Warhorse. It's all very unnatural when you look at it from a lighting perspective. The look is very weird. But there's times when, for example, early on in the film, spoilers, the father figure is about to like shoot the horse.
Oh.
They're in the barn, and there's a wide angle where you can obviously see from the wide, the father's face is entirely in shadow. He has no light on his face. The very next shot is looking basically down the rifle, and his face is incredibly well lit. So compare those two. Another one I just heard yesterday, somebody recommended this yesterday, is the closing
That's Spielberg.
scene from Independence Day. When they're out in the desert, like they've crash landed, they're going to go pick up Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum.
Welcome to Earth.
Well, no, after.
Oh, after
the end
the
of
last-
movie.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
But watch that scene and look at how all of them are lit, because every single one of them is backlit. They all have their back to the sun. Even though they're facing each other, they all have their back to the sun.
That's true.
So watch those scenes. Look at how the lighting is changing. Look at
See,
how
that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
between different
Okay.
shots. So that's
'Cause there's a
one
lot
thing that
to
made me
it.
start thinking about it. And after that, I just started doing it. And I love lighting. It's a lot of fun. I like writing, directing. I like editing. I like doing everything. But it's actually making the lighting that's really fun.
I was just talking about intention. Like the reason you have such a subtle 5 setup thing in No Country for Old Men is because you're psychoanalyzing a psycho. You're psychoanalyzing this guy who's really intense, and you really want to pay attention to. I think somebody did a study on the accuracy of a psychopath in film, and No Country for Old Men won. It was the #1 film to
Really?
represent the
Doesn't surprise me.
And that scene is exactly why. It's very intense, it's very still, and it makes you nervous that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark Knight is very much chaotic. You're kind of inside the Joker's brain a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have 27 shots. So that's all I was trying to say was intention is everything.
And Christopher Nolan, No Country for Old Men is all about enhancing the performance. Christopher Nolan incorporates a lot of visual storytelling into his shot choices. For example, there's times when the Joker, and I actually broke the scene down both by shots and by dialogue. 90% of the dialogue in that scene comes from the Joker. It is his scene. He's in jail, he's locked up,
Yeah.
but it is still his scene. He has all the power in the scene.
You've changed things.
And Christopher Nolan actually jumps the line If you know about the 180-degree line, usually it's where the camera set. Look it up if you don't know what it is. He jumps the line several times in that shot, so that you're looking at Joker talking, and suddenly, even though you're hearing Joker talking, you're seeing Batman's face. Because remember what one of the things the Joker is saying is we're the same.
Yeah.
And that's visually showing that without having the audience's eyes move. He's showing what the Joker is saying.
Yeah.
And I love that stuff.
I still remember you breaking that down. It was cool.
It's fun.
It was really cool.
That's a fun scene.
You also ruined the Goodfellas one shot, but whatever.
Oh, that's just planning to make it longer than it needs to be.
Never ruined that shit.
Yeah, it has to be good in the first place.
Oh, burn!
I'm kidding. That's a really good oneer.
Burn.
That's a really good example of a oneer.
Even though it was longer than it needed to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I did it. Intention. Again,
You said that on the holy day.
I feel you now. No, yeah.
Seen Henry Hill's lifestyle and why it's attractive to be a mob. That's what that's.
That is
true.
the biggest
It's
kitchen I've
true.
ever
It's-
seen in my life.
No, it's not. He walks in a square and goes in the same door he
it's a
walks
mob
out of.
sequence.
Maybe he was flexing. You just wanted let me just flex.
They
on
wa-
this
they
girl.
they wanted to extend the length of the scene. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's entirely just him being, or the audience being exposed to why this lifestyle is so
What'd you say?
attractive.
Martin Scorsese.
What'd you say?
That's all that scene is, and it does it so effectively. You really believe this guy's a big shot. This guy,
Yeah.
He was being
I agree with you on
flexing.
that
through
one.
that scene.
I've done it to a girl a couple times.
Huh?
Walk 'em around Blake's.
You got my table? Oh no, somebody. Can I get another? No, that one's.
Is this one good?
Juan just gives them extra fries.
I do.
Whatever works, man. Whatever works.
But no, I'm.
No. Have you showed it to anybody, any of your students?
Yeah, I've showed it to students. If they ask me like some of the stuff I've done, I'll usually show them that one. Even though there are things that I was still getting used to the Black Magic camera, and we had it on the gimbal, and I didn't have it perfectly balanced, and so there's actually a lot of times there's actually more movement in the shot than I would have liked.
Yeah. I mean,
I did have to go in and use warp stabilizer on one shot, and people point that out, and I totally understand that.
because you can notice it with the warp stabilizers. Like, I didn't notice it. I didn't.
You
I-
said you said that
You guys
you got this idea on a set with
Right.
when you guys were barely starting to there's still time. Why what intrigues me the most about it was the twist at the end. Basically, you have this like unexpected twist that dude's like crazy, I guess.
No, he loves cinema.
Yeah, you love.
True, he loves
He
cinema.
loves movies. It's about
He's crazy
it's a
about
movie
cinema.
poster. Yeah.
Yeah. But my question is like, what why that little story? I guess like were you just kind of like
It
in
goes.
that mood or?
It goes back into a love of cinema. It's a romance, but it's about how much we love films. We
He was so into it that.
film is, for better or worse, part of our culture and part of our life right now. We always talk about like things like Netflix and chill now. That's a huge part of
I
the
agree.
American culture.
Also, like I feel like Michael's film tackles.
It's today. It's literally
I
that part of
love
our
that you
culture.
asked that question one
Mhm.
because nowadays people want to tear a film apart to ask what for.
True.
And Michael's film is all about the purity of cinema, where it doesn't have to be explained. The fantasy doesn't have to be unraveled. It's
That's
just
true.
a fantasy.
Yeah, there we go.
That you
Fantasy.
believe in.
That's
It's
true.
Like, that's what happens to me every time I watch Hugo. It's funny when you bring up Hugo. Hugo makes me feel like a kid again every time I watch
That's
it.
a perfect
That's
explanation.
why it's my
Yep.
favorite Scorsese film. But that's what Poster Girl is.
Okay, that's
It's
a good
just this
Scorsese film,
fantasy
okay.
that doesn't need explanation. It's just a guy who loves cinema and has this adventure, and it's fantasy, and who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
You know, like I really do like that element. This is why this is my favorite film for Michael.
Michael.
It definitely. I mean, for obvious reasons too, just the subject matter, and the tone.
That's why I'll forever love you, dude.
But it's fantastic. Yeah.
Like,
Good
on a
question.
side note, I just want to say that I think it really highlights why we all kind of get attracted to film, and sometimes why we don't really understand like what makes a film great or what makes a film so impactful to us. Because like I was rewatching it right now just while we were setting up, and there was just something about it in not only the way it was lit, and not only acting, and not only the the score and everything that went around it, but it's almost like the film itself didn't need to make sense in a bigger spectrum of things. It didn't need to. You didn't need to like be like, oh well, wait, like why would a poster girl like jump out and then go on a whole date and all that? You were so invested in just their time, and then the music came together and it just added that warmth, and the like lighting was just so soft that you were just invested in the emotional aspect, and I feel like that's something that we've all fell in love with film in one way or another for some emotion that it gives us that we just feel like we can't get this in any other art form. You know?
And so much of what you just said, the emotion of it depends on the performance. Now, as a director, I'm kind of guiding that, but it's really the actors that are bringing that to life. So a lot of it depended on you and Valerie. You had really good chemistry together. You both were able to get the ideas across. So I guess the question for you, Eric, is what is something that, well, how did you feel first off when I approached you with the idea, and like how were you feeling when we were just walking around downtown getting shots?
I kind of understood the story right away, so I kind of liked it. So it was just, I guess, for me was, all right, I got to show this girl a good time. She doesn't know what she's looking at, you know. That's what she said.
Dang, man. It's all a normal date, yeah.
No, yeah, and
This
just
is all Paso?
getting a little direction, a little improv. I love improv. I guess I just went about it how you told me, man. And then Valerie, I think it's more on her because she's like the poster girl, you know. People are gonna be seeing her. They're not gonna be looking at me.
Valerie's like you two for Tower are the Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. I think this is the third time you
True.
worked together.
Huh.
And you guys have worked with each
She's
other.
great, man. She's great.
So the first one
I'm
was
hard
what,
to work
like
with. She's cool.
date night, or what was that? No.
No.
That
The movie with them with
They did Out of Lost, Poster Girl, and which other one together? You guys did another one together, right?
Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling were in that one comedy.
They did Crazy Stupid.
Yeah, Crazy Stupid. That's what I was trying to go
They
for.
did,
La La Land. La La Land.
Gangster Squad. Was it
Gangster Squad. Mm-hmm.
And then they did La La Land.
La La Land.
The one that nobody saw is Gangster Squad.
Aw.
Right. But I do think you two, you know, Valerie's not here, unfortunately, but anytime you talk about working with Valerie, you guys do feed off each other very well. And
Cause
I think it's important to mention.
she's a great actress, man. I'm just a student of acting.
Like, can you kind of describe to me when people say like you have chemistry as actors and you're able to kind of like work better with somebody and all that? Can you kind of describe like what you do to
Good
make
question.
sure that you have that chemistry and all that? Because I feel like
If-
as an actor, you're working with a lot of new people all the time. So
If your partner is saying yes to everything you're doing, that's what you love. If they're not feeding off of what you're doing, if not understanding or not getting the flow, that's when you're like, okay, I gotta switch it up. She's gotta understand what I'm trying to do. And she was really cool, man. She went with the direction I was going to. I don't know what else.
I mean, I think it shows. It just you know all the emotion on the faces and all that. It really it can bounce back from one to the other, and you know exactly what each other's like saying or talking about.
That's all
or how
Valerie,
they're
man.
feeling. And I mean, well, I think for you too. You know, just when you look at the scenes later on, and you're going through kind of that disappointment of you're not going to get that second date, and you don't really know why, or you're realizing that she's not actually there, and you're never going to get that second chance. Like, I think you really sold those emotions, and that kind of like shock for yourself. But it wasn't like a shock like, whoa, I was talking to a poster. It was more like, I'm just sad that I can't get that opportunity again. Like, I think you really sold it.
And I think that's what he told me. That's what you're looking at, man. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, what was I gonna say? By the way, shout out to Valerie. We were shooting that right before Christmas. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right before Christmas. It was freezing cold. It was incredibly cold on set, and she was in.
Valerie's mom was there too.
She was there. She
Nice.
dropped her off. Yeah.
She
didn't
was?
stay very long.
She stayed for like a scene.
Like 30 minutes, and then she had to leave. Yeah.
Took off. She was there.
It was super cold, so props to Valerie especially because she wasn't in super warm clothing, and you couldn't tell. The other thing is kind of going back to the idea of intentionality. Carlos shows up in the film.
His Alfred
He shows up
Hitchcock
in the
cameo.
film, and that was not planned.
That was an impromptu.
That was an
thing.
impromptu
We
thing.
just thought
I
it was
actually think it might have been your idea,
I think it was
Really?
Carlos's idea.
if I remember right. Something about it was taking the
It
picture.
was all about the intention with the cell phone
Mm-hmm.
and modernism, right? And showing how this guy from present time is using his cell phone to take selfies, and this poster girl from the 50s. I think we're going for the 50s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a shot that you used in the movie, in the fake movie, right? Where we're in front of the building and she's looking at a reflection.
Oh, yeah,
she
yeah.
opens that whole thing.
You guys didn't.
You remember that?
Yeah, I don't think. You did.
Where we're going for like a 1950s classic.
That was her
film.
walking out of the building.
Yeah.
Yes. that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
That one. Yeah.
We
yeah.
used that one.
Well, what I mean is like the juxtaposition of like her being fascinated with a cell phone, because her character being from the 50s and all that, and then you came up with the idea of like, well, if we're doing this selfie thing, halfway through, I think it was both of you. I think it was both of you, that director and actor, being like, well, we're gonna do this thing where she was never in any of the pictures, and that started really structuring how we shot. It started
Well, that was
structuring-
when I ended on the concept of it's about film and cinema. That's when I got the idea of we're gonna do a selfie, and I'm gonna say freeze. I'm gonna do another selfie real fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember
but
that.
but
Yeah,
what I was thinking more about was intentionality. I think you had the idea of
'Cause that wasn't-
asking somebody else to take a picture of you in front of the tree.
And then that picture,
And
of that
then-
person being like, weirdo.
And that was the whole weirdo thing. The look that you give, that was me.
yeah.
That was saying, how would somebody react that said, oh yeah, I just take a solo picture in front of the tree.
yeah,
That was
Of a
so it was
guy.
intentional.
of
Yeah,
a guy.
yeah. Girls, whatever.
Yeah.
That's true.
But I remember we brought
Good collaboration.
flowers.
Yeah, that's good.
You brought a bouquet of flowers that the intention was to bring flowers for the flower scene, for when
Mm-hmm.
you pick up a flower and you give it to her from the pot. And then the rest of them were left over, so it was like, how are we going to use these flowers in the scene again? We recycled the prop.
Yeah.
You remember? Because it was just a whole bouquet of
Oh, yeah,
flowers.
you were holding
And I
the
was
flowers,
holding
that's right.
So we even gave my character a backstory. Like, waiting for
Always,
his girlfriend,
always, always.
like, he has
True.
flowers.
Oh my gosh.
What was your
Motivation?
motivation? I know my motivation was. I was in there for a total of 5 seconds, man. Like,
But it was key.
It
It
was.
was-
It
You
was
know
really
what? I
important.
really like that. I feel like it makes the world look a little bit more alive. Like there's more going on than just
The downtown
There's
area.
these two people, because I feel like a lot of times you watch a film and it almost feels like there's this whole thing going on and there's buildings blowing up and then everybody just kind of like they're somewhere else up there.
Yeah.
Another thing,
quiet.
another thing to mention that's really important to this film, I think. Somebody made a comment to me recently about Poster Girl, and they were like, "Dude, how did you guys get so many people?"
Yeah, yeah.
They
That's
were
the
in
first thing you
park.
notice. It looks expensive.
It looks expensive.
Yeah, it looks really expensive.
Exactly what Juan said. It looks expensive. We didn't ask anybody. So there were security guards all over the place. We kept hearing.
These guys were holding something else that wouldn't sound. Remember
No,
the light post?
but security guards kept they were just interested in what we were doing, and so was everybody else.
At one point, funny story. At one point, we were in the middle of a shot over by the chess boards.
Yeah. Security came out.
I'm in the middle of a shot, and suddenly I hear a security guard say, "Hey guys, can we talk?" And I was like, "Oh no, we're about to get kicked out of the park. We don't have a permit,
no.
all this stuff." And when he said, and he just he walked up to Austin, and was like, "You can't vape here."
Oh my gosh.
No, but he was really nice about it. And that's
Oh,
what
they
I
were super
mean.
nice about it.
Anybody who was either a security guard or people in the frame, they were just interested in what was going on.
Really?
They weren't like.
But they weren't being distracting.
Yeah.
That was the nice part. That nobody was like,
Which would be the tough
Think
part,
about it,
yeah.
man. That's what makes production value for a film. And we got just for filmmakers listening out there that think, well, how can I make my film look expensive? How can I make it
Extras.
look legit? Extras, stuff like that. This really authenticated this guy just taking a stroll downtown and people
Yeah.
in the background. And,
Yeah.
and it's the thing I hear about the most about Poster Girl is like, dude, that thing looked expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It looked
man.
Legit,
Big
It's
props
part of that.
to you.
Every film in the Tower 20 has looked expensive, I would say. Like every single one of them.
And
So
some of it,
that's a good
you know,
thing.
by chance that people are there, or that many people are there, and other stuff is like planned.
When the little kids are running, I was like, all right, I'll use this.
Yeah, right.
It worked.
that was good
And
timing. That was
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good
it
timing.
worked.
Austin edited this, right? So I think, or you guys co-edited or something like that?
I think you did the first cut. I did final cut.
Yeah. So I think there's a few takes where Bastard was asking like, why'd you pick that one?
No,
And
it
you
was just like, 'cause I
no,
remember
no.
doing that face, like, I don't think they're going to pick this one. Because we did it like 3
The
times.
reason because you probably saw the little kids in the background, the stuff that authenticated
Yeah,
the
yeah.
film as a
Ah.
whole, more than like kind of validating your performance. It was more like, well, the performance was good anyways, no matter what he does. So whatever is in the background happening, that's gonna authenticate.
Did
this
you get
picture.
release forms on the kids?
So, yeah,
It's a
Let's
public
say yes.
park. You don't have to have them.
Really?
Arizona missions.
Now, at the same time, I was asked by, I'll say, a higher up in somebody. They're like, "Oh, I saw that you thanked the Winterfest for a thing. Did you get permits for that?" We're like,
Yes.
"No." We were honest. we were honest. We told them no.
Yeah. It's because that's kind of a beautiful thing in Paso. We're not encouraging this, but if you talk to whoever's in charge on the spot, usually they'll get a kick out of saying yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And Plaza Park is always full of photographers and
Yeah.
filmmakers all the time, man. There's always like a podcast being done
We tried to
there.
do it officially one day for I think Depth of Field.
Yeah.
Right for Depth of Field, we talked to Parks and Rec. We did the whole nine, tried to get a permit to them. It was a pain, man.
Really?
It was too much. Like we couldn't put equipment on the concrete that was heavier than like 50 pounds. Which we
Okay.
wanted to use our crane for the scenes,
Jeez.
a bunch of stuff. They were just a nightmare to work with. You
I feel you.
No, it's not 50 pounds.
Right, and our film commissioner kind
With
of agreed
60
at
pounds
the
of
time.
weight on the
Susan
gym.
was like, "Yeah, man, the Parks and Rec people, they're not fun to work with. So if you're ever going to shoot in a park in El Paso, be careful.
I feel you.
Because they're just,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah. 'Cause they're not. It's not fun to work with people who are like super strict about it when the rest of El Paso.
Well,
dude.
At the same time, like your guys' film wasn't like a disruptive action movie or anything like that.
Not blowing up a
So
car.
right. So yeah, you know.
Yet.
Yet.
No, but I drive around El Paso, and I think it's part of the reason that the set design was so beautiful in this, like, because I drive around El Paso and I tell Sandra, my fiance, like, we've gone to Hollywood, we've gone to the studio lots, and El Paso's a big studio lot, man. You go to downtown El Paso, and it looks like the Universal
It really does, man. It's
Yeah.
small enough too
It's-
to
The little
the
alley.
tour.
It's beautiful, the facade.
Yeah.
I mean, what in the studio lot would be a facade. Here, they're actual 3D buildings that look
Yep.
beautiful.
The goal for Tower should be we make some iconic movies to the point where we can sell tours. Like, yeah, that's where we shot.
What do you think we're working on right now?
But no, I mean, honestly, what would you say if like somebody held up all of your images, like all of the most impactful frames of your movie, and they're all just 1, 2, 3, 4, just all in like little sections? What would you say, is the story being told with all those images, with poster?
With poster, again, it goes back to just the love of cinema. Just variety of shots, variety of angles. For me personally, I would nitpick every single one of them because that's just my personality. I'm never happy. I'm never satisfied with my own work. I kind
I
of
feel you, man.
hate
Same way.
watching my own work.
Same way.
But when people ask me kind of what my favorite project is that I've done right now, it's Poster Girl. So
Really?
Yeah.
I love you,
My
man.
favorite to watch, and probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
Can I hug you?
Tower 20. I really
Honestly,
love this
man,
film. I really do love this film.
It's a unique film, man.
Yeah.
Just,
Every
I
movie.
want to ask you.
it's on point.
Because last episode we talked about There's Still Time and how that's not something that I would necessarily do again by choice, or it's not something necessarily I'm good at, I would say. And I kind of want to touch on that for Poster Girl, Michael, because Michael's films, and this isn't in no way typecasting. I'm the guy that's known of saying like, "Oh, Eric's the horror guy," and but it's not true. They each can dabble in any area.
Yeah.
This is a key example of that.
Eric wants to do rom-com.
He does.
You're not letting him.
I could not see Eric doing it.
You should have directed this. You know what's funny? Just it'll be
You know what's funny?
But nobody could die. Nobody
you know
could
what
die.
else is funny?
You know what's also funny?
You know what's also funny?
Anyways, but
Death? Oh my gosh! There it is. There it is. Okay.
but in terms of, but if you've seen Michael's work, if you've seen Night Shift, and if you've seen The Last Hit, well, The Last Hit we'll talk about later, right? So later
Yeah,
in
that's coming
Tower
later.
20. But Poster Girl compared to those films are way different in genre.
Very
and
versatile.
tone.
Yeah.
So, is this something you think you'd want to tackle again? This kind of genre? Because it's very like meet cute, you know, and that's what I love.
Well,
But
I'll say there's somebody sitting in this room that I have made a challenge to where I will write a romance feature and somebody
Oh, okay.
will write a thriller feature.
Ooh.
But
I
we're
like
kind of
this.
in the middle of doing other stuff too.
I like
so.
this. I like this.
Because I like
that's
exploring
still
different.
on.
Oh yeah,
That's still
no,
on,
absolutely.
but-
No, we just haven't. We're just not at the point where sitting down and saying we're going to start here.
Yeah.
We need to do like a month long thing. We were at like 10
yeah, we
pages
gave
a day.
ourselves
Just a
challenge,
first
but
script. Just a
this
first page.
was after the 2-day challenge, where we wrapped the 2-day challenge. He was like, "All right,
Really?
you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do that."
He got motivated, yeah.
And of course, well, and at the same time of that, blending genres is always fun too. Like we literally been talked about this, and he said, "Well, I'm going to do a thriller. Can I do a romance piece to it?" Well, heck yeah, I'm going to do a romance that has some thriller pieces to it. So yeah, absolutely, blend genres.
Carlos
all- do
and,
it all
and
together.
Michael are like the yin and yang of Tower, really, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always fun working with him as a VP. 'cause
No, that's what that's what I
Michael
mean.
challenges me, man, and we'll talk about
I saw it firsthand.
The music video.
video. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I use Michael as a VP for a couple of things when it's not available, but he challenges me in a way
Oh,
or another.
and he challenges me too, because when we did this music video, he said, "Come up with a shot list." And so I had the shot list. It was written.
love
And then
this
I
story.
show up on set. Then I show up on set, and Carlos said, "Okay, we're just gonna do it as a one-er." So like, okay. But it worked. It actually helped us because it saved our bacon because we had power issues that night.
Power
And
outages or whatever.
Nice.
Or you can experience it firsthand watching Juan's documentary.
There you go.
Yeah.
The You Know What's Funny documentary on the Tower Productions YouTube page. Give it a watch. Give it a watch. A very towering 48 hour
Oh, I like that one.
It's really
documentary.
We'll talk about that in an episode. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
whoa.
Yeah, we will.
Oh yeah, I'd be down. I'd be
You
down.
know what's fun?
Yeah.
We're definitely
Oh
going to
okay, I'm done. There's lots to.
But you can see them argue firsthand on that.
No,
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
Arguing.
I edited out the punch. You know, me, Austin, and I.
really think
We were like, nah.
Because as a director, and talk about you were your own DP for this film.
Yeah.
You were your own DP. So I mean, there was 3 crew members on set that day.
Yeah.
It was Michael, Austin, and me. And Austin was running lights basically. I was gripping, helping both of them.
Mhm.
And I think I was so not mad, but I was so envious that like I want to direct this picture because it's gonna be good.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, really, I was like over here like sliding notes to Eric, like, and Valerie's like, hey, you. But I think you let me because you knew that I could bring that to the
The
table.
energy.
Yeah.
Some good. Yeah, some
It
similar
was a
notes.
good
Yeah.
collaboration for
Suggestions,
sure.
right? It's on set.
It's a balancing act for collaboration.
Yeah.
When you know somebody is good at something, you don't tell them no, don't do that.
That's very important. It's
And-
very important.
And part of that is the working relationship we've had, and what I know you do and what you know I do. I've been on. I was on the set for a small independent feature, and it was literally the first day of shooting, and it was a small production company, like 5 or 6 people. The director, they had literally had their first shot, and he had given the actor the director the direction. He went through the scene, and literally every single person in the production company said, "Oh, I think you should do this. Oh, I think you should. Oh, I think you should do that," to the actor. And the actual director like called him over. He's like, "We're gonna have a meeting right now," and he called him. He was just very blunt with him and saying, "If you have an idea, tell me. Do not talk to the actor," and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have that working relationship where I know you're not going to try and detract from the overall image, the overall vision of the piece. And I don't think anybody in Tower would do that. We all have ideas. We all share. We're more than willing to discuss, talk about things, give our input.
As long as our hearts in the vision.
We've shut down production for a day because of the different issues that we've had, safety issues more than anything. And I'm very big on safety issues.
Like, coming from a cinematography standpoint, I mean, director of photography work, is that difficult when you're thinking about writing a film and the idea of somebody else either doing the DP work or the directing work? Because I feel like with me right now, I'm thinking about, I'm jotting down ideas because I want to write something, but then I'm also coming from a similar like DP background, thinking like I'll shoot it like this, I'll have like a shot list idea like this, but then I think it's more important that if I want to direct, I should really just let that go and let that be with somebody else.
But before you answer that, Michael, Michael was very. I think it's important to mention this with Tower. Michael comes from a do-it-myself, one-person crew.
MacGyver.
Sucks.
And we really had to get him out of
MacGyver
his house.
Yeah.
No, we really did, and I think maybe even for this, we encouraged you not to be your own DP. I think it was just a
I wanted to.
necessity.
This one I wanted to. I know we needed to keep it a small crew.
Yeah.
I wanted to do this one
Exactly.
myself.
He was operating cameras, doing all that, but
You
I
were,
think
man,
it's
that's
important
true.
to mention because the thing about being a director or DP, people are under the wrong impressions about DPs. It's the DPs. It's not just that they select the camera work. They're working more with the lighting people. If you have a DP that doesn't care about lighting, your film is going to look like shit. I
Yeah.
guarantee.
Okay.
But if you have a director that doesn't care about camera angles and lets the DP take over completely, you're not going to have that
And-
director's vision.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it's all about collaboration. That collaboration, that effective working relationship starts in pre-production, because if the director doesn't have a vision about what he wants his film to look like, and he can't communicate that to a director of photography, the director of photography is going to have a really hard time.
Yeah.
And I've worked with people that are like that. I have DP'd for other people, and like I set up the shots, and they're like, I don't like that. I'm like, well, you need to tell me what you do like so that we can actually get on the same page here.
Can you move the sun for me, please?
Give it 5 minutes, yeah.
And Michael has a pre-production
I get it.
meeting with himself. Basically. So Michael just has his big round table and he just switches chairs when he talks.
No,
to
it's a mirror. It's a mirror. You put a mirror
Visual
on.
of that.
That's
That way you can make eye contact with
No,
someone.
Michael comes prepared, man. Michael comes prepared whether he's directing,
Definitely.
or DPing, or everything, man. He's ready. He's
So you were your own DP in this film, but say you did have a DP, what would you tell them to be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for? What movies?
Move the sun.
I would probably first if I'd been working with a DP, I would have definitely scheduled more scouting time. We would have gone down together, looked at lighting, looked at locations, looked at angles, looked at the camera movement I wanted, so that we're on the same page about that. Probably would have collaborated on the storyboards so that the visual look flows from one scene to the next. But I was doing that all myself, and Carlos gets on me about this. I still like directing and DPing at the same time. I really do. I know that's not... And it's
not a bad
it's
thing.
not a bad thing.
Change the norms, Michael. Change the
Yeah, I was gonna
norms.
say,
There are lots of directors that actually are their own DPs
But
too.
correct me
But
if I'm wrong. I think this is the first time, at the very least, where you let somebody else edit. Or you let Austin edit. Maybe it was the first time. One of the first times.
did you work on Night Shift?
No. You edited that entirely.
Oh, because I had to do it for class. That's right. I had to do that for class.
But
probably,
I feel like
yeah.
that was better. And that's just part of my sensibilities. I like to step away from the film so I could come back on it with fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm. And
That's me. Like I get too close to something and I start getting stubborn about something that's
Same.
bad. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Where I should just step away from it for weeks and then come back to it and say, all right.
And
Oh,
especially
wait, so you're aware of that? Okay.
especially in terms of post, that's something that the description that I heard it's not a good idea. I've been in several different discussion groups about should directors and DPs edit their own work. What the normal consensus that I've come down to is not initially no. Because, like you're saying, a director or DP gets attached to something, and hey, this shot that took us an hour to get set up for, and it's like a 2-second shot, an editor that doesn't have that knowledge
not
can
invested.
say
Yeah.
it doesn't play with the story, it doesn't work, and so you let it go. And so something that somebody might be emotionally attached to on the production side of things, they need to be able to step back from that and release it a little
Yeah,
bit.
I told you guys about that shit too. But yeah, that's good.
Can you still hear me? I feel like I'm moving the mic.
No, you're perfect.
Okay,
It's a
good.
good one.
What do you think first-time filmmaker can get out of this one? The like lessons in terms of like.
Again, going back to my teaching, I've had really good experiences starting students on silent films. Saying you tell.
What is your curriculum?
Tell
like,
a story.
Maybe we can get some spoilers.
No. Well,
That's a good easy.
I give a good 20,000 foot overview, so we literally cover everything from post to lighting to sound to
Cool, man.
story. So I start with story, and I'm a lighting guy. I love lighting. I love making beautiful images.
True.
I always start talking about sound and audio because those are two key things, especially beginning filmmakers tend to skimp on.
And are your students usually familiar with those are the ones that they're least familiar, right? 'Cause the sound.
They're
like,
the ones they've least thought about.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like we don't really think about how did they craft the story? How did they craft Iron Man's character arc from Iron Man through Avengers Endgame? But you can see that Kevin Feige's a genius because you can see how he influenced that character development over all those films. Every single Marvel film, you see Tony Stark growing as a character.
Yeah, to the moment where in Endgame where he just randomly has a daughter, but it just feels so like right because you're like, yeah, he's been
because you've seen him be that mentor figure to Peter Parker. You've seen him be the harsh father. I'm taking away your toys, which was important for Spider-Man's character.
Yeah.
Audio is one that a lot of beginning filmmakers. That's the part that most beginning filmmakers neglect the most, and it is arguably, I'm not going to say arguably, it is more important than the visuals. Because if you have good audio and decent visuals, people will still watch it. If you have beautiful images and bad audio, people don't watch it. Audio, what's the phrase I say? Audio without video is radio. Video without audio is nothing.
That's a good way to put
Drop
it.
the mic.
That's true.
I like that actually. I like that. That was really nice.
Don't drop it, it's sensitive.
And I feel like I gotta ask, man, any future projects that we gotta look out for? Come on, man, we gotta
Can we talk about it? Are we talking?
I don't know
about
any
it?
future projects. I'm excited.
We're working on a pretty big thing right now. I have several scripts that I'm currently in the development process on that I want to write. I just haven't sat down and a couple of them I've started some outlining on it. I'm not a very good outliner. That's never been kind of my forte.
Yeah.
Fortnite. Just want to be cool.
I tend to just sit down and start writing, and sometimes that's not always the best way to do it. Usually I've had some very good experiences where I've literally sat down and wrote a 10-minute short that came out really good in one sitting that took about 3 hours.
Sometimes it happens like that.
But that's the exception. That's not the typical thing. Normally it's a development process.
Yeah.
Like Poster Girl morphed a little bit from when I first had the idea to what it ended up being. And I've been working on outlining because I do think that's strength. It reveals a lot more about the story. You can build the story a lot out. Knives Out, Ryan Johnson. I don't know if you saw.
See it.
I don't know if he's.
I know.
Oh, it's fantastic.
My girlfriend comes out.
Which one?
Ana de Armas.
Oh,
She's your girlfriend?
not yet.
I sent her emails, man. She just
Lee Curtis is my girlfriend.
But he recently sent out like it was the most basic little outline drawing that he did, but it's all the major story beats, and it's just one little picture, but it's every single major story beat. He's like, that's how I outlined it, and he wrote from there, and it's like that's fantastic
For Knives Out?
for Knives Out.
Really? And I assume that's like a very like
Oh, it's
intricate
complex,
movie, right?
and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of dunks on Ryan Johnson for Last Jedi. I enjoyed it except for the Casino Planet thing.
True.
And if you look at it from a story structure, all the characters have a complete story arc within that. There's
Yeah,
like
they
8
do.
different characters, and every single one of
Yeah.
them has a complete story arc. So
Yeah.
he's good at that.
You can see that contrasted with the recent one because you know, like Poe had an arc in Last Jedi, Finn
Everybody
had an arc,
did.
yeah, Rose,
Everybody did.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. That's true.
So random thoughts.
So you're gonna leave your fans like that? Which is that's.
I got some stuff I'm working
I'm
on.
a fan, man. I want to.
That's all his
see.
producers allowing him to
I know this is
True.
over in the back
I have
town
stuff
of
I haven't. I have stuff I haven't told these guys that I have ideas
Oh,
for.
see,
so.
you gotta.
Well, Michael will be
You gotta
back
leak something?
for the last hit on the TowerCast.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
definitely
cool.
have 'em back,
All right,
for sure.
awesome.
I don't know how many of those stories I can even tell.
We're gonna have plenty to tell.
Yeah.
Wow,
So okay, I think
that's called a hook.
what my ending thing to this would be, and this is a
Hold on,
question.
I gotta ask
Go
one
ahead,
thing. When your students have watched it, what are they saying? What are the feedback from there?
What's been the reception for you?
They
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
True.
they really like it.
They're not blunt about, hey man, what happened there? No.
Most of them are like, "Oh, that's really sweet." And it's like,
They
"Oh."
want a good grade.
Nice.
I'm sitting in the back, kind of like this, because I
Yeah.
hate watching my
Me
own.
too.
work.
That's good. That's good. That
Apart from Edge of Desire, I feel like this is the most talked about film in the Tower 20.
I've heard a lot
Really?
about this one.
Huh.
People from,
Yeah, yeah.
Like, people who watch it.
People from high school. That
It does have pretty good views and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. I've heard people come up to us and, hey, man, that Poster Girl movie,
Mhm.
movie. I've heard more about this film than any other film, I think.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too.
That's the one you flex to your girlfriend about. Like, hey, we made that.
Yeah.
That's why I give you props, man. You open my eyes to lighting, man. It increases
It's
the film.
important. It is important. Audio is much more important.
Didn't you do the lighting for precognition?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
So there you go. Yeah.
I DP'd precognition.
He's awesome,
There
dude.
you go.
including the effect shots. And I actually went back and asked Jesse about that, and he's like, "Yeah, I would have done things a little differently." Oh, sorry about that.
Really.
It happens.
That happens.
That was getting on the same page. That was that whole. We should have sat down ahead of time and.
If we
really
did that
gone through-
last year, imagine what we're gonna do this year.
heck
So
yeah.
that's gonna be awesome. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna end it with this. What's the biggest? What's the newest thing you learned from this movie? Like a new technique, a new something that you just never crossed your mind, but you're like, okay. Ever since then, I've always
You can't vape in the park.
that. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Scare the director.
I tried when you're looking at the poster shot, when you have Eric like reacting to the actual poster. I tried 2 different techniques for getting the look right. If you examine them closely, you can see there's a difference between the 2. And if you want to get really technical, I did a technique on one of them. I won't tell you which one, so you can guess which one that is. I did a technique for rotoscoping, which is what I had to do to get the poster cut out correctly.
Okay.
Called ligament rotoscoping, which, if you don't know what rotoscoping is, it's one of the most tedious things effects people have
It's
to
like
do.
Photoshop for video, no?
No, it's
It's
every movement.
it's cutting out an entire figure and doing every single movement.
Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen
And it's
that.
using a mask. It's annoying. It's not. It's not.
It's
that
just a lot of
hard.
hours.
It's just so time
It's
consuming.
annoying.
It's very annoying. I did a technique called ligament rotoscoping, where instead of one big mask around the entire person, I did a mask on his forearm and his hand and his face, so that because honestly, if you're mostly just standing still and moving your arms a little bit, you don't have a whole lot of movement in your chest.
Okay, you can skip that.
So the mask for the chest can pretty much stay static. You only have to worry about moving like the mask for the arms. It was a technique that was recommended to me. I tried it, and
Wow.
it saved me so many hours.
That's a
from the
big
first time
one.
I
That's
did
a
it.
big. Yeah, that's a big
Saved
lesson.
a huge number of hours in post for that.
You have the patience for that.
Sweet.
I don't
Carlos
have
and
I don't have the patience for it. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Producing wise,
We got,
For me, just as a producer and as a consumer, I just really I didn't want to let that. I remember we had meetings and meetings about the Tower 20 and what's coming up next, or if somebody had a script that we needed to kind of overlook, or not overlook, but like talk about and see if it was going to be made. I never forgot about this movie.
Mhm.
After a year of hearing the first pitch, I think it's important to like if a story doesn't let you go, like really do.
That was a year of development, basically.
Yeah.
Year and a half.
This
Wow.
was me, like, really
March.
trying to
No,
tell Michael
Over-
like, hey,
it was
man,
over a year.
let's not
Yeah.
forget about this one. This
Mhm.
one's good. Like I really want to see this picture come to life, and it did. So don't
Mhm.
forget about those. If it keeps kind of bugging you, go back and revisit those because
Mhm.
those are the important
Now,
ones.
was this one important to you because you were like, and then they break up at the end? It's like,
It was, yeah.
It was the romantic
Technically.
live action hero.
Yeah, no, I was really interested in seeing Michael do something like that, and I could be wrong, Michael, but I remember you being kind of like you enjoyed it and you were having fun with the idea, but you also kind of dismissed it, and I think part of the reason is because I'm not so interested in making that kind of movie. And you kind of just like, we'll make it eventually. And I was like, let's not forget about this one because this one will be good.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of my
I don't
advice.
remember dismissing it. Maybe I kind of just put it on the back burner.
Yeah, I
but
feel like
I keep
that's...
hitting
But
it.
you as a producer, you're like, no,
yeah,
this
as a
is.
producer, I was really interested in making this one happen. I mean, it was a silent film. I think even part of the score, to me, it felt like a modern-day Charlie Chaplin type
Yeah.
of
I get you.
story, which
Yeah.
I wanted to see. And I didn't want to let it go. So in terms of learning something new, is like if I'm not directing or it's not my story necessarily, but I care about it,
Mm-hmm.
like encourage your friends and encourage your peers to do that, whatever that is. Famous story for Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro had the idea for The Shape of Water since like the early 90s.
Oh, really?
And he
Yeah.
kind of always put it in the back burner. And
Wow.
Alejandro Iñárritu, director of Birdman and The Revenant, and their friends, him and Alfonso Cuarón, director of Roma and Y tu mamá también, sat with him and were like, you got to make the fish movie. It's time.
The fish movie.
You got to make the fish movie. Make the fish movie. And Guillermo del Toro was finally like encouraged to make it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look at that. It won Best
Imagine
Picture,
that,
right?
He won Best Actor that
Yeah.
year, So just encourage your peers,
Oh, yeah.
encourage your
Oh, yeah.
friends, especially if it's something you want to see. Spielberg encouraged Lucas to make Star Wars
True.
for the longest time.
It'll be good.
De Palma and everybody else were
Yeah.
like, that's a shitty idea.
They made him cry.
Yeah, and Spielberg was like, no, dude, make it. I want to see Star Wars, So encourage your peers.
Yeah.
I really
The
wanted to
Star
see
Wars.
that.
The
Star
Star
Wars.
Wars 77.
I really wanted to see Michael's film and Michael's vision through that, and I cared.
He's a
about it.
visionary, I for sure. I always compared him to the
Did you like
Tower
anything
Christopher Nolan.
from this one, Austin?
They can't bleep in a park.
Something random side note. Since we've shot Poster Girl, they've put up posters that say don't climb on the tables.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no way, really?
Since we shot
That first
Poster Girl.
shot.
So that was you guys. Okay, you left your mark.
That was a good
Mission
shot. That was a good
accomplished.
shot.
No, it wasn't impromptu. I told him to do it.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
But
I had a lot of fun
I
filming
remember
this
Eric praising this film a lot. I remember, like he wasn't on set for this, but he watched it, and we always talk about like, hey, what's your favorite Tower 20 film, like, or what's one that's left an impact on you? And Eric says Poster Girl a lot, and that's not Eric's type of film. So that
That's
speaks
true.
volumes.
That speaks a lot.
volumes,
Look at him with his red glasses.
Oh,
you
you
can just-
could just. Then I'll hold it for
I
you.
got the audio.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, it was just a perfect Christmas movie at the time too, and it was just visually pleasing and everything. The music score went with it. It was like it's just storytelling by just visual and music, so it was real nice.
It's a good exercise. Telling a story visually is a good exercise. It really is. It's something that I encourage everybody to try at least once.
And you, as an actor, you always have fun. That was a pretty fun shoot.
What about you, man?
Something I did. I will say something else I did learn. Don't just tell the actors, stand up, give a hug, and walk out of frame. Because then they turn left, and you're like, no, you're supposed to walk that way. Oh no! And we do it again, and they still walk the wrong direction. No, walk this way.
Direction.
Walk that. Be specific in your direction. That's
my bad.
Hey, I wasn't giving clear direction. That was a director
yeah,
thing.
but-
So
When you see somebody like him that has passion for this film, you just have fun with it, man. For sure.
Okay.
You have to match that passion.
Okay.
right?
Exactly.
That's beautiful. That's
What do
beautiful.
you think, Juan, as a consumer, as a viewer?
That was one of the first either 3 films I saw of the Tower 20 for sure. Because I definitely went by like just the ones that were recommended to me on my YouTube stuff. But I honestly, man, it was, like I said, like I felt like it was a very feel good movie. It was the one where I was like, oh, I mean, it wasn't dark, but I don't know why I felt like it was dark, especially when you see those like.
Since we shot it at night.
True. No, because like the first, I would say like the first half of it is very like just. I mean, you just assume like, oh, it's just a guy taking out a girl out.
Assume.
And once you do, which
Stay tuned.
I love the editing you guys did with it, because once you.
Side note: Michael will be back for 2 episodes.
That-
for
oh, really?
Night shift and a
Oh,
there you go.
That's what we did.
There you go.
That's
We did night shift.
This is our superstar, honestly. You're a superstar. But like, when you do those hard cuts to like, she was never there. This memory was like just in his head. I don't know what, but like, it just intrigued me to the point where I was like, this is like a Black Mirror episode. So I don't know why I don't know why I latched onto those parts of the movies, but whenever I think of Poster Girl, I think of it's like it's a dark film.
It's
to
an
me.
impactful scene. It's
Yeah,
ki- it's
it's very
kind of
impactful.
it's kind of
My jaw dropped. That was actually like a jaw.
and
jaw
if
dropping
it had just left with like him looking at the pictures and you pan up and then the end of the film, oh, he's insane.
Right.
But we go into the cinema and we see him watching the film and it's
Fun fact: the room we're filming this in is where we
Oh, yeah.
shot the cinema scene.
Really.
Really.
I don't know if the GoPro can see the little projector. That's the projector.
I don't see it, but I'll have to rewatch it because it's like
Well, you're
yeah.
not supposed to. You're
Oh,
not supposed
right,
to know that it's
right.
a room.
I-
But I don't see it. I still don't.
I initially talked to the film commission about going into the Plaza Theater to film like just for a few hours, and they told me the cost, and I was like, never mind.
Yeah.
So there you
Never
go.
mind.
Okay. Well, that's what they did with Ghostbusters. You know, they didn't film inside of the film. But okay, I need somebody to pull up their phone. I want somebody to Google Oscar's goodie bag.
Well, while we're there, hello.
$210,000. I already looked at it.
What's the good word of the day?
Okay, what of the day? Oh wait, I need
Here we go.
And it's got to relate to
Tell me
Michael.
the contents. of
Okay,
it,
well
like-
I'm gonna need Senor Head's
Yeah.
Yes.
expertise on this. What we've been trying to do is word of the day each episode, and it was recommended a few episodes back to do a word of the day, but relating to filmmaking,
To film.
term in filmmaking that not too many people know about.
So you can challenge him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I was expecting a trivia contest.
Professor?
what's something that a fun word of the day that not too many people know in film lingo?
10-1.
10-1.
Hmm.
Have you guys gone over that one?
One with the...
I haven't listened to all the podcasts yet. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Do another one.
Which ones have we talked about?
We have it.
I know. I think
This
the only
kind of
one
Ten
we
one.
talked about was diegetic. That's the one we-
Diegetic.
Diegetic sound. Diegetic sound is.
We already talked about that.
Oh, you already talked about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
C47.
Some,
C47.
Oh yeah.
what's
Well, I'll do since he mentioned 10-1 and 10-2. We'll talk about that. If you have to go to the restroom, 10-1, 10 minutes for number 1, 10 minutes for number 2. Where are you going? Going 10-1.
Okay.
That's what the 10 comes from. 10-1.
What? I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
There's no shower after?
That's crazy.
Depends on how the 2 goes.
One.
Jeez.
C47s. What are they?
C47s. I wish
That's
I
a
had
plane.
one with me.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
once you know,
what's a
yeah, one-
C47?
That's a plane.
You're not wrong.
Is it really a plane?
You're not wrong. Well, that's where the term comes from, kind of.
C-47.
No, I'm serious. It does.
Nobody really knows where the term comes from.
No, it comes from
I know.
aerodynamic engineering because the same.
In film-
So I was right.
technology-
In film, it's not.
No.
Nobody really knows.
Some of the technology
Ding,
they use
ding.
for those,
Round one.
they used in like how the plane opens and closes or something like that. That's why it's called a
What the heck?
C47.
Okay, so do you know what a
Anyways.
C47 is?
The flaps on the lights because they
No.
open
No.
like a plane.
Those are
Those are barn doors.
barn doors.
Barn doors? What are those?
10 points for barn doors.
I don't think so.
Oh,
yet.
all right. Yeah, go.
C47 is a wooden clothes.
Wait, are we competing?
No.
Oh, I was like, wait.
I wish I had. Do we have one here? A C47 is a wooden clothespin. And so you say I need a C47 that's a wooden clothespin. Usually it's used to attach gels to barn doors so that things. Now it's why is a wooden clothespin called a C47? I had never heard anything about an airplane.
World War II. World War I. It has to do with the war and how, when they were invented and all this stuff.
Whoa.
What-
To
Rip.
be on inventory.
Well, I've heard a couple of stories. One thing is in a film production catalog from the early 1920s, 1930s, on page C47 were clothespins. And so they say, hey, I need a C47 because that's the thing. The other thing I've heard was a producer got the budget for a film and they going through the list and they said, why in the world are we paying $200 for clothespins? And so they said, oh, that's a mistake. And they crossed it out and wrote C-47 because it sounded technical.
Oh my gosh.
And so they said it's not $200 for clothespin, it's $200 for C-47s.
Okay.
Nobody really knows.
Both of those make sense.
I've never heard the plane thing before.
It had to do with the war and why they were invented, and there was so that's the theory I've heard.
Why is his name Oscar?
Because it's called the Academy Awards. There was a
A man named Oscar.
no, it was in the 50s. One of the award recipients, he received the award, and I think it was like Ed Asner or somebody along those lines. But he grabbed it, and they were interviewing him afterwards, and he looked at it and he said, "This looks like my Uncle Oscar." Seriously, and that's
No
why
way.
they're called the Oscars.
What? No.
Yeah,
That's stuck.
Very underwhelming.
and it stuck, and it stuck.
Speaking of underwhelming.
Could have been called Eric's.
Oh no.
No, I was gonna segue, but he wanted to say something.
Okay.
You're not underwhelming.
Call me underwhelming.
No, you're overwhelming.
Calm down, dog.
Is that better?
Good guy.
Hey, we're Juanos. What's going on?
I'm Juano. I'm the.
Oh,
I'm the
true.
knockoff Juan.
I'm the knockoff one.
What?
I'm the knockoff.
You're one of a kind.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, let's just cut here.
Oh no. Actually, I was gonna say,
Wait, you said look up Oscar goodie bag.
yes, because this is where we're segueing into. Did you guys know what do you get when you win an Oscar? Do you guys know that thing?
Recognition.
The award for
It's a
best
little
uncle.
taller. It's a little taller.
That's cute, by the way.
Not just people who win Oscars; it's anybody who attends the
So
ceremony.
anyone who attends the ceremony gets a goodie bag.
Whoa, it's
Anybody that's invited to the ceremony?
Did you guys know you get an Oscars goodie bag?
What I was saying, it's only certain
barely
nominees that get it.
Does anybody know what you get inside a Oscars goodie
about
bag?
$235,000.
You get a yacht trip.
Monkey fetus.
Everybody gets this.
Yes.
Everybody who receives it back.
Yes. And you also get a 20 karat gold vape pen. This is for real.
On this year.
This year's. No. I have
got
something
mad at
about
Leo
this
for
year. I have
vaping.
something. But this is last year's. And you also get from what I was told, a facial rejuvenation treatment. So like just a bunch of creams, a bunch of stuff to make you look young forever, right? Yes.
That's why everyone looks so young.
And on this episode of Tower Podcast, episode 13, I have a very, very special thing to bring out because I actually have a replica of this year's Oscars goodie bag.
Why do I
This
kind
is
of
a replica.
Why do
This is
I
the
kind of
actual
doubt
bag.
this is $250,000?
This is it's all a replica. No, this is all new stuff. It's all new stuff. This is all new stuff. I got in with them. I actually called the Oscar guys at the HQ, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll give you a replica of today." So who knows? If Martin Scorsese wins, he might get one of these goodie bags. So what I would like you guys all to do is
What's
to
up?
take out one thing and just flex it. See what these winners are gonna get for this
So you
year's
get
Oscars.
to depict, or you just randomly.
Whatever. See.
This is my childhood.
A copy of
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk
Pro
Pro Skater
Skater.
on the PlayStation 2.
Now he's just got to get a PlayStation 2.
Dude, this was my after school. So like my mom picked me up at 7.
You know what I do. This is a replica, but again, that's pretty cool. And actually, in fact,
Shout out to Tony.
Red Dead Redemption.
it's actually a nice little gift. Michael, go
Red
ahead.
Dead Redemption for the Xbox 360. Not even for the PS3.
Again, I want to reinstate just a replica, so none of this stuff is real.
Michael Head. Up next.
Ooh. Oh my god, the 4-movie set Ice Age pack. Wow. This again, just a replica, but this
What's
is
in there? You have to open it up now.
it's all the movie.
It's probably Juan's porn stash right there.
Yeah, again, just replicas, 3D printed.
There's no need.
Go ahead, pass this to Austin. There's a lot of stuff in here, by the way.
Wow.
That's heavy.
Again, all
Randomly
replicas.
full.
And don't worry about the smell.
Yeah.
You can look. No, go ahead.
Just
You
pick
can
one
look.
out.
An Oscars official football. Wow.
Wow,
That's
it
actually
says Turbo Junior.
exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, come here, Daddy.
You guys are looking too.
Alright.
Oh wow, a
Bible.
military Bible, an official Oscars military Bible. That's pretty cool. That's
I
pretty
didn't even know.
cool. Go ahead, Michael.
I get to both of them?
Yeah, anything.
Wait, how many things are
There's a lot.
I saw some type of.
I hope you guys pull out one thing, but
Whoa.
there's
I
a
saw
thing.
something moving in there, so.
shit.
There is a thing.
Do we have to pixelate?
I saw some batteries in there.
Wait, what is this thing?
Wow, a can of beans, an official Oscars can of beans. That's actually.
I was
really-
expecting a can of dog food because
Oh,
Because Brandy.
brandy. There you go.
Okay.
You can pull. You know what, Michael? Pull something else out. Dylan, pull something else out. Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Pull 3 more items out. Oh, wow! An official Oscars doorknob. Wow. Wow. This is wow. They're really moving up. They're moving up.
One more. Something at the bottom.
This one's slippery.
Separated. What?
Wow. Official
Oh,
Alfred
Hitchcock.
Hitchcock's. Are those food stamps or
Stamps.
stamps?
Food stamps. They're not food stamps. They were stamps.
Official Alfred Hitchcock.
Those might be coming with me.
Some coasters.
Okay, and
These are some coasters for the new film Underwater.
Underwater, I saw this. It's not very
I totally
good.
did not get these from Cinemark.
It's not very good.
It sucked. Take it
But
back.
hey, you gotta promote. Again, you a lot of people might be thinking this isn't real. This is just a mock. No, I just am.
I'm gonna fight you for. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna fight you for this.
Again, want to reinstate replicas. They're not real. Those are not real
What
stamps.
is this?
I think you got it.
It's sticky
You know
or
what it
what?
is.
Pull it out. Pull it out.
Let me make sure.
Does
Pull it up.
Does it smell?
How does it smell? Okay, I'll try.
Whoa, daddy.
Oh, that's an official Oscars lighter, and it's a half lighter, half bottle
Oh,
opener.
It looks like a lightsaber.
Yeah, it's a lightsaber. There you go. That's,
Car window.
yeah. Pull something else out. Pull something else out. Pull like 3 more things out.
Okay, here we go. Oh, this is
Just pass the bag.
Again, and it's all themed. It's gold. I didn't spray paint gold. Some Pepto Bismol. Some Oscar Pepto Bismol.
Useful for the after party.
Yes, it was useful for the after party. Yeah.
Useful for the after party. Yeah.
It's half used, but
Paso.
Touchdown!
That stuff can be a lifesaver on set.
honestly.
That and baby powder.
Exactly. This is all baby filmmakers. Wow!
Oh,
wow!
Daddy.
Careful
An
with that,
official
careful
Oscars rubber.
very old man.
Used by Leo last year.
Take it off, fellas.
Again, gold for Oscars.
That's game pixelated.
Gold.
Used by Leo in the scene of Iron.
Oh wow, some AirPods. Wow, see that is actually the most expensive thing on there. But it's not even the AirPods; it's just the case. But yeah, go ahead and open it up.
How did he open this?
All right, here we go.
Okay, here we go. Ooh, a license plate. That's from American Graffiti. That's from American Graffiti.
California.
California.
138.
That's a yeah.
That's George Lucas, right?
Yes. Let's see what else we
Can I
got.
ask, like, what happened
Ooh,
to this
a li-
episode?
It just got hijacked.
The rails are gone. We are off rails here.
Go ahead, man.
This is a bottle opener, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to touch that.
Wow, some ping pong balls. There you go. There you go.
That's for the after party.
And then here we
That's why I
go.
don't juggle.
This is actually okay. I gotta take it back. The AirPods weren't the most expensive. It's actually this official Oscars gold
Nail clipper.
nail clipper.
That's what I didn't want to touch.
Is that actually gold?
Yeah. This is a real. This is the only real thing in the bag, and because I've used it.
We got balls flying around this podcast.
And
You almost
and a
lit it on
copy of
fire,
Balls,
too.
a copy of Birdman. So that's
Free-balling
the
it.
bag, you guys. So like
And-
when you see whoever wins tonight, this is what they're taking home. This is what they're taking home. So
Thank you for a pro skating game.
I think that about wraps it
A
up
couple
for
years
us.
ago, the bag value was $400,000 per bag.
Oh, also the bag's recyclable because 2020.
There you go. Exactly. Keeping it green. Keeping it green. That about does it for us, you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that little bag.
Thank you, Michael.
For those of you guys listening, hopefully you tag along to the YouTube page and see what was in the contents of the bag so you can see them for yourself. Again, want to reinstate that this is all just replicas. Reiterate. I can't say it sometimes. I can't, man.
Reiterate.
I got a big old tongue and it just won't let me say stuff. Oh, mama. Word flex, but okay. But thank you guys so much. Keep writing your scripts. Enjoy the Oscars tonight. Obviously, when this airs, it will be after the Oscars. But I hope you guys enjoy your day and don't get too mad on if one of your films don't win tonight. Because we're all winners here. We're all winners here.
Right.
Anything else you guys want to add?
I just want to
Except
thank
for people
Michael.
that don't win, then they don't win.
Just want to thank Michael for showing up. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael Head, Austin Young, Carlos de la Torre, Michael de la O, Eric Sanchez,
That was way better than me.
and
The white people.
the
There's
white
only one
people.
token white guy here. Come on.
Tower so white. John Eric Castro.
As always, please check us out on the Official Tower YouTube page. We're on all major platforms.
Yeah, keep listening.
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Spotify, just about everywhere. So yeah, keep checking us out. Message us, leave a review.
And
Click that like button.
Anchor, thank you so much for being wonderful. We love you.
Cool.
All right, you guys.
See you next episode.
See you next episode. Keep writing your scripts. Good night.